Welcome to another special bonus episode of Let's Talk Pokemon, the podcast where we talk anything and everything Pokemon. But in this episode, we will be focusing on one topic, and that will be the Pokemon Sword and Shield games for the Nintendo Switch. But before I go any further, I am not alone in this endeavor because I am joined once again by my buddy, none other than Austin Squirtle Squad 47. Austin, how you doing, man?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Well, hanging in there. Summer break is just around the corner, so I'm going to enjoy it a lot more once that happens. That's for sure.
Almost there.
Almost there. And then I'll be playing lots more Pokemon.
Yeah, buddy.
We got Pokemon Snap coming next month.
Yeah,
I just realized that it's one month away.
I gotta get my pre-order in for that.
Do you know where you're gonna pre-order it? Do you know where the bonuses are?
I didn't realize there was bonuses, so...
Well, I mean, they're like little mini trinket stuff. So, like, if you pre-order from GameStop, you get like a two-sided poster. I don't know if you remember, they did the same thing for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. There was a two-sided poster for it, where one side was the Kanto map, the other side was like Ash on Charizard or Red on Charizard or something like that.
I tend to avoid GameStop at all costs, so...
Gotcha. It's reasonable. The only other bonus that I know of is that at Target you get a frame, like a little mini frame, with your pre-order. So I don't know if that. Actually, I don't know if that's just an online thing only, or if it's in store. But I remember seeing it on the Target website. So
I'll have to look at that. Then it would probably be Target.
I know I'm getting 2 copies of the game. I think I pre-ordered mine from Best Buy because I had a gift card. But then, obviously, that I want a sealed copy, and then I want, obviously, one to play. So I guess I'll have to go for the Target one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to figure that one out. But all right, let's focus here on our main topic. Like I said, we are going to be talking about the Pokemon Sword and Shield games. The reason for this is because the Pokemon 25th anniversary year-long celebration is focusing on a region each month. And so they're going through all 8 regions, starting with Galar for the month of March. Then they continue with Alola for April, which I think those partner packs, the cards, come out April 2nd. Kalos is in May. Unova is in June. Sinnoh, July. Hoenn, August. Johto, September. And then Kanto, October, which... Now looking back on it, that's conveniently leading right up to the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Mm-hmm. So I guess that makes sense. And so I just figured it'd be fun for the podcast just to kind of do a bonus episode each month where we kind of look back on the games for that particular region. So the idea was we would do a full gameplay, like me and Austin were going to do, like, just play the whole game from beginning to end. Just to kind of refresh our thoughts on it. Unfortunately, with this one, adult life gets in the way, and we did not finish our full walkthrough of the game. I was supposed to play Shield, which I got halfway there. Austin, you said that you were supposed to play Sword, and you only got a few badges in.
Correct.
But I figured it's still fresh in our minds. I mean, it just came out, what, like a year and a half ago? 2 years?
Year and a half. It was November 15th, and it would have been 2019, because it came out on our
2019.
On my wife's anniversary.
Okay. Yeah. So it's still fresh in our minds. I still play it more than I think any other Pokemon game just because of the wild area stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, how often do you still play Pokemon Sword and Shield?
A couple times a week. I'll get on kind of before bed and do either... I'm doing like a soft shiny hunt for Tyrant / Tyrantrum. So I'm just going to the wild area spawns in the Crown Tundra and just hitting a few of those, or I'll do 1 or 2 Dynamax adventures.
So super, like, side tangent, whatever you want to call it, just because you brought up Tyrant. The Crown Tundra DLC, seeing Tyrantrum, right? That's the evolved form, right? The second. Okay. Seeing Tyrantrum in the wild is so much cooler than I thought.
I really like the fossil Pokemon running around in the Crown Tundra.
kind of seemed like its own little mini Jurassic Park in a
Yeah,
way.
because I really like that. What was that? Generation 6 was
I don't remember the fossil Pokemon very well.
Tyrant, and Aurora, the long neck one, the Ice Rock.
Aurorus,
Yes,
I think.
Aurorus. Google. Yeah, Aurorus. Yeah, they
Okay,
were
yeah.
Gen 6 was Tyrantrum and Aurorus. They're my favorite fossil pair.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I've ever thought back on that. Huh. I might revisit this when we talk about the fossils for Sword and Shield. But so anyway, for the listeners' sake, we're kind of doing like our own little mini review on this.
Yes.
Like it's obviously not official. It's not like, we have a script per se. We're just gonna have an open discussion about the games. How do we feel about them? What were our favorite parts, our least favorite parts, what we want to see improve, and all basically like any other conversation you would have with a buddy about these games. And because we do have the Diamond Pro remakes coming up, we do have Arceus coming up, and these seem like, well, at least Arceus seems like a very kind of departure from traditional style of Pokemon games. But regardless, we'll focus on Galar, and then each month you can expect a bonus episode from here. And hopefully Austin is going to continue on for the ride for this one all the way through Kanto. What do you?
Yeah, I think I would need to find some copy of Gen 3 games, because I do not own those, but I have copies to able to play back every other generation.
We'll figure it out as we go. So let's go ahead and start talking about Sword and Shield. And I figured we would address probably the biggest elephant in the room for this, because when the announcement for yeah, actually exactly that does work. The biggest Caparaja in the room for this game, which when the game was announced, my initial perception is there was a lot of hype to this, right? This was the newest game. We've been itching for this game after Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. We know this was the first game, kind of, well, everyone's mentality of the first official main series game on the Nintendo Switch, and we wanted to see something great out of this. But then after that announcement, this was during E3, I believe, where Junichi Masuda had mentioned in a interview that this will not have all of the Pokemon in the national Pokedex. It won't have a national Pokedex at all. And it sparked a huge controversy that started a whole campaign of hashtag national Dex. Was it just hashtag national Dex, or bring back national Dex? Bring back. Yeah, it was. And then like hashtag bring back megas and hashtag blah, 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 all this other stuff. So let's just briefly kind of talk about that, because that is like the biggest division between the community when it comes to this game, is that it didn't have all 898 Pokemon. I think the original Galar Pokedex was only 400, and then they added 200 or like 100 each DLC.
100 each.
Yeah, so in total, we got somewhere like around probably 700, give or take, for the entire Sword and Shield games. So the National Dex controversy. Austin, where do you stand when it comes to the National Dex?
Yeah, I don't care. I've never brought Pokemon up from previous games. This Sword and Shield is the first time I've moved Pokemon from a previous generation into the current one. And there's so many Pokemon that I will never use. And I understand, well, there are like 2 or 3 that I can't specifically call right now that I refuse to believe is someone's favorite Pokemon. But also, every Pokemon is someone's favorite Pokemon. But like, there's so many games where you'd have to jump through hoops to get like a Squirtle in the game. So I just learned to accept not always playing with the Squirtle Pokemon in my games. And I was okay with that, because then I grew to like other Pokemon, because I was forced to use them by being limited from not being able to use the same ones I always wanted to use. And so to me, it wasn't a big deal. And for me, the new games are about the new Pokemon, and it's like, cool. I want to use, you know, either even if it's just like Galarian Ponyta or Galarian Weezing instead of like normal Weezing, or I want to check out like Phalanx instead of just using like Machamp for the 100th time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I stand. It doesn't it didn't affect me at all, and I got real tired of, and still am real tired whenever I see people complaining about it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I didn't care at first. I didn't think that of a big deal. Like when I first heard that, I was like, okay, yeah, that's just every Pokemon game. They never give you all the access to all the Pokemon right off the bat anyway. And plus the whole point of playing a new region, just like you said, is to enjoy experiencing using those new Pokemon that you encounter, right? Because instead of using Zubat for the entire time, at least in Gen 5 we got the Woobat, not everyone's favorite Pokemon, I'm sure, but Woobat at least was a different experience than having to play Zubat all over again. So when I started seeing the whole controversy behind it, I was like, why are people this upset? Like, and I had in my back of my head, because I think someone asked me that question, like, well, how would you feel if Squirtle was cut out of the game? And I was like, okay, that hurts. It does, but is it the end all be all? No, because I mean, I don't ever start with Squirtle every single game. That's not a possible thing. I remember when I played X and Y, and you were given a second starter. Do you remember that? Yeah. Where you can get like another like a Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle. I was like, oh, sweet, this is awesome. I get to play a Squirtle. This is cool. But it's not like an expectation I have every single generation where I get that evolutionary line. Sometimes I have to understand, hey, that Pokemon may not be there, and that makes sense because if it's a new region, right? You don't in the real world, you don't go to Russia and maybe expect to see a lion or a giraffe. Like, it's a different country. It's a different continent. It's a different continent altogether. Yeah. So you're gonna see a new set of wildlife there, and that's how I kind of see Pokemon. It's like you're in a new region, new area, new beginnings. Like, you're supposed to experience new things and not have the same thing over again. Do I get the upset behind it? Yeah, I do, and it's okay to be upset. I just hated seeing the hate and the pitchforks going after Game Freak about this. And I think the one thing that peeved me off the most was that Junichi Masuda was tweeting about like a wedding he attended or something, about like his friend's wedding or something, and yet all the replies that he got was still about the National Dex controversy. I'm like, can you just leave the guy alone? Like, let him live his life. Like, just get over it.
I will say, when I said I'm tired of it, I want to be clear that people are completely valid to be upset by it. Like, if you want all your Pokemon in your game, that's understandable. And I'm not going to say you're wrong for being upset. But you don't have to hashtag bring back the National Dex on any and every Pokemon tweet. And I know some of the... I don't want to say malice, but some of the anger was directed that people were given excuses they didn't feel were adequate for things like working on the models and for the graphics, and there's the whole wild area tree thing and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, saying these things that clearly didn't seem to have an effect on the National Dex and then being told that's why would be upsetting. But like, also, they don't have to give you a reason. If the director of the game is just like, I don't want... To me, the one reason that seemed at the core and true is they wanted to balance competitive around these handful of Pokemon, which is why there's a lot of moves that you can't bring up from previous generations, is trying to balance competitive Pokemon. And I think that's the first time they've considered VGC when designing games at all. Really. Because, I mean, if they considered VGC, then Landorus wouldn't have been so dominant as it was.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, like, people are like, well, why not? And they look for excuses, and like, they weren't going to be happy with any answer. But honestly, I think the most valid answer is just they didn't want all 800 and whatever Pokemon in the game, and I think that's perfectly fine.
And I think this also came during I mean, I think this was like the start of it, not necessarily Game Freak starting it, but I think we did have a conversation last time, me and you, on the episode where we said the developers of video game, like it's hard to trust developers nowadays. And you know, they present something so great, again using Fallout 76 as an example. You know, they hype it up to be like this most, you know, best-selling game you'll ever see, but then when the final results come in, it's just like, what happened? Like you promised us this and then we got nothing. And I think, you know, that kind of got put into the toss-up where Nintendo's always been known to put out reliable games, and Pokemon, I know people dislike certain generations and whatnot, but still, like, it still sells well, and Pokemon still continues to be like a main staple of any like Nintendo user. Like, you know, the fans are always going to buy the games. And so I think like Game Freak just happened to get caught up in that mix, and to see something that's so impactful to someone's childhood, to hear that they're not going to get everything that they would have expected, I think just kind of snowballed and kind of got out of hand. And people just, because people are so frustrated and upset, they just went with it. So it just kind of sucks that that happened. But I mean, it didn't stop anyone from buying it. 20 million copies sold, became the best-selling Pokemon game since Gold and Silver. So that puts it in rank 3, right? It's the third highest selling game, Pokemon game. Is that correct?
Beating
Red and Blue, Gold and Silver.
Yeah. It would have been. I mean, I don't think anything's ever catching Red or Blue.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. But I mean,
millions of.
It's good that it got this bit of an increase. I mean, there's a lot of attention on Pokemon now, especially more than ever. So I mean, I think these games are worth it. So overall opinion, I really love this game. Like, I think it is probably one of my top 5 favorite Pokemon games that has ever been created. I love the style to it. I love the battling. I didn't think I was gonna like Dynamax. Like, when I first saw it in a trailer, I was like, oh, this is super gimmicky. Like, I know they have a gimmick in every game, but this just feels very tacky. But then when I started using it, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. And I think what helped was the way they did gyms, was that it's very much more of a sports event rather than you just entering a building and battling the leader of that gym. And so the whole atmosphere behind everything you do in the game just kind of helped. The wild area was awesome. Yeah, of course, graphically, there's some rough spots here and there. I know my first experience, there was a lot of frame dropping. It was kind of laggy and slow a little bit. But I mean, you also had like a whole bunch of people going on at the same time. So I was like, I'm going to look past this and just see what happens. If it continues to happen, then I guess that's an issue. But it seems smooth to me now. And just everything, I don't know, the characters are just much more interesting. I like this rival more than I've liked any other rival in any other game. This one, Hop, stands out to me more than How or I can't remember the other rivals. Just Blue and How are the only ones that come to mind. Other ones, I just kind of leaves my head.
The only other one
Hop just kind of stands out.
Or I guess there's Silver and Hugo from Black and White 2.
I don't even remember Hugo. That's a weird name.
I think it's Hugo. They stand out to me. I couldn't tell you your rival names in any of the other games. I mean, How and Hop. Yeah. I don't remember any of the people of the rivals in Gen 6.
Yeah, so for me, the characters in this game just stand out more, and I cared more about these characters than I do anything else. And I think Hop has a really good arc in the game, especially if you definitely pay attention to his dialogue. It's not just like any other rival. So I love Pokemon Sword and Shield. So Sword was the one I played through the most. That's my main copy, and as I mentioned, I'm working on Shield right now just to have a backup. You know, because I don't have a
Mhm.
Zamazenta that I own, so it'd be nice to have those. So I can put them into Pokemon Home to complete my Pokedex in there. But that's my overall take. Austin, how do you feel
I
about the games?
well, I was all on board on Dynamax when I first saw it because when we first saw it, I'm like, that's really cool. And then I got more on board when we learned about Gigantamax because I saw Gigantamax Alchemy, and I was like, I bow to our cake overlord. As soon as I saw it, I think the thing that I like the story is nothing super special. But I like Hop. I like Leon a lot. I think Leon's probably my favorite champion. Um, and I think probably partly because he does things, like actually does something. And my favorite subtle thing this story does is every other game, it's like you're a 10 or to 15-year old, and you're like, it just kind
Hmm.
of be like the adults going, hey, save the world. But there's a couple moments in this where they're like, things are happening, and like Chairman Rose and Leon and the professor will be like, hey, we've got this. You go continue being a kid on your Pokemon journey. And like you keep stumbling into things and then eventually like Leon gets defeated and
Hmm.
you have to step up. But like they feel like that's how it would really happen. Like you would just have a 10-year-old be like, hey, you kid, go save the world. You'd be like, no, like things are weird, but we've got this under control. Don't worry, kids. Like continue being kids, and then they finally have to step up. I think that's one of my favorite things about the story.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that until you just pointed that out. Like, yeah, I that's true. I do remember those moments in the game, and that is nice to remember that. Yeah, in the game, you are just still a
Yeah, because
kid.
there's one part where like Hop
Just
like shows you like a news story, be like, look, Leon fought this Dynamax something or another, and like brought it down, and it's like again, it's like stuff plot is happening while you are not present, unlike pretty much every other Pokemon game before. And I liked that. I've always wanted a game that you just play through and there's no evil team, there's no end of the world doomsday villain, just like a really solid villain, really solid gym bleed, like almost like the anime. Like, sure, Ash will run into Team Rocket, but like they're almost just as much of rivals as like Gary is. Like they're not like there's the looming of Giovanni, but Ash isn't like thwarting Giovanni's plans through the whole series, like the
right.
whole first season. He's just a kid trying to get to the Pokemon League, and that's his arc. And he just happens to bump into Jesse and James. But if you cut Jesse and James, Ash's story doesn't really change. You cut the evil team out of any other Pokemon game, except, well, I guess Sword and Shield, because Yell's not an evil team. But every other game, you cut the evil team out, the story is completely different or non-existent.
So where does this fit into your like ranking of Pokemon
So,
games?
as much as I said I don't remember the rivals of Gen 6, I've found that the even generations tend to be my favorite, and this falls into that thing. I really like Gens 2, 4, 6, and now 8. Those tend to be my favorite ones. In the grand scheme of rankings, I'd probably put it like third.
Yeah, that seems about right. It's still in the
Yeah,
top five. Yeah.
I know, I know critically, and we'll get to it later, that Gen 2 is not good. Um, but
I,
nothing, no logic and critical analysis will overpower my nostalgia for Gen 2. And so I think my top three is 2, 4, 8 for generation. So yeah, I'd put Sword solidly in third.
Okay. You started with Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield? What was your
Shield.
what is your
I was
main game?
Protect
Was it
Doggo all the way.
Shield? So out of the two legendaries, your favorite one was
Yes,
Zamazenta.
I like both. I like Zacian and Zamazenta. I like the lore about the little bit of lore we find about them, but I like playing the big body meat shield slash tank in all my role playing games. So I had an affinity for Protect Dog.
I like both. I don't something about the Zamazenta design just kind of throws me off a little bit. I think it's like the side of the shield where it doesn't look like it's fully attached. Maybe I'm thinking it wrong, but it just I don't know. It's like it's got like a weird angle to it where I'm just like I don't know how I feel about this one. But I think I gravitate more towards Zacian because it does. When I first saw it, I was like, that is exactly the dog from Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I forgot already the name of it, but it just reminded me exactly of that. I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this boss battle, so yeah, I like this one more. So Zacian, I think was yeah, definitely fit more of my my
See,
liking
when I first
than
saw them, I thought
Zamazenta
they
did.
both looked like Zoids.
So, Zamazenta more so
Yeah, but you take the
than
sword out
Zacian,
of
I would say.
Zacian's mouth when he's transformed with those like wing like swoops behind him. He 100% looks like a Zoid.
So since we're talking about the Pokemon, let's talk about overall. Well, this will be our first kind of dig into the depths of Sword and Shield here. The Galar Pokemon. So the original Pokedex consisted of 400 Pokemon. That was a mix, of course, between all or across all the generations. After that, the DLCs did not add any more new Galar Pokemon, which was a little disappointing, but still, they were just all Pokemon from previous generations. So if we are looking at just the first 400, and let's just focus on the new Pokemon of the Galar region, what do you think about the overall designs? Do you have a favorite one? Do you have a least favorite one? What are your thoughts on the Galar Pokemon?
Well, I will protect Sobble with my life and harm anyone who tries to harm him. So I like all the starters. I like their themes. I like their designs. At first, when I first saw them, I was not a fan of Scorbunny, Reboot, and Cinderace. But playing
Okay.
with Sobble meant that Hop would get Scorbunny. And for some reason, seeing them that line grow with Hop got me to be like, okay, like they're not. I don't dislike them anymore. I know some people didn't like how Sobble's line went. Drizzile, I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say he's my favorite middle evolution ever, but I think it's logical that the crying little chameleon salamander would turn into an emo. I think is very fitting.
Yeah. I like the color scheme of Drizzile though. Something about like it's almost
Yeah, the
neonish
purple
in a
with the
way.
green
And
accent.
yeah, I really like the colors.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
of course, like the emo kid would get confidence and be the cool secret agent at the end. I like Inteleon a lot. I actually think though my favorite third evolution is Rillaboom.
Yeah, Grookey kind of grew on me. Because okay, so out of the three starters, Sobble, of course, I'm always biased towards water. So Sobble, I'm gonna, 100% best starter of the Galar region. I really like Scorbunny's playful attitude, and Grookey just looks adorable. I think with the little stick, he's just just having a good old time. But their middle evolutions, I would say probably Raboot is my favorite of the three middle evolutions. He just looks more ninja-like to me, even though that may not be what the style they were going for. It just seems much cooler, I guess. But I don't like Cinderace. Something about these weird ears of his and wearing trousers, like it's a really weird design for me. And Rillaboom, I because I did a my first surprise trade in Sword and Shield. I actually got a Grookey,
Oh,
which I thought
nice.
was really cool, and it was super early on in the beginning of the game. So I was like, oh, cool! I'm just gonna keep this one on my team. And
Ugh.
I don't like Thwacky, but I really do like Rillaboom a lot.
I
You're a
I
fan of
don't like
Thwacky?
overall design. Thwacky isn't like the best middle evolution, but Thwacky the name is the best Pokemon name. One of the best Pokemon names
That's that's like
ever.
if you leave it up to a
It
6 year old
is.
to name a
It is
Pokemon. Like,
just to me. It is Chef's Kiss. Perfect, because all of them are kind of punny. All the middle evolution names. I mean, they're the middle
yeah.
and they're all kind of punny, but like the middle and final evolutions are like really like punny play on words, and but Thwacky man just because of it's so good. I love that.
For Inteleon, I do like what we got for Sabo. I do like the final evolution. What I did kind of jump on board that little bit of a hype train where there was a lot of rumors and speculation that we were
Mm-hmm.
going to get a water dragon final evolution, which would have been awesome. But I'm not I'm not disappointed by what we got. Like I knew the water dragon thing was like very, I don't know, just very. We got Palkia for that, and I don't think they want to give us something that powerful already to start off with. So, it makes sense for them to do mono type starters, and so Inteleon's still cool in my book. His Gigantamax form is pretty sweet. The fact that they gave him a snipe
Mm-hmm.
tower, I thought was like just a really cool design. So, yeah, Inteleon definitely wins it for me. But so as far as going back though to favorite and least favorite, I mean, I don't know if I have a favorite per se. Like ones that stand out to me,
I
I
really
love
like the
Orbeetle.
Orbeetle line.
Orbeetle's really cool
I
UFO
do. I
design. You
really
said
like
you
the
do like it or you
Orbeetle.
don't? Okay, yeah. Dragapult is super cool. I mean, the fact that he's shooting out little mini GPs, even though that there's something wrong about that biologically, I think the overall concept of it I thought was really cool. Trying to think what else. I mean, as much as people don't like Mr. Mime, like I don't like Galarian Mr. Mime. I think it's like the scariest
Mr.
looking
Rhyme
thing
though.
I think of all Pokemon designs. But Mr. Rhyme, I mean, that the first time I think I've seen, or I guess my first appreciation of Mr. Rhyme was seeing him in Dynamax battle. Like it was in a Dynamax raid, and he's just like tapping his feet away, like just a jolly old Pokemon. I'm like, yeah, you're all right in my book. You're definitely hitting one of my top favorite Pokemon. And the more I see him, the more I'm just like, yeah, I need to have a Mr. Rhyme on my team. I'm trying to think what else really stood out to me. I do like is it Clobbopus? Graplock, right? Graplock is the evolution.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. That one was really cool. Kind of weird that it's not a water type as well, but I'm fine with the fighting type aspect. Um, Surfetched is also a really cool evolution. I really do like what they did with
Yeah, I like
Corsola,
Crystal a
especially the
lot.
lore behind it. Who doesn't like
Uh,
Weezing
I
wearing the top
I
hat?
think
Uh,
I'm trying to think now if there's any of the Galarian forms I don't like.
yeah, I don't know. If we're talking strictly like
Yeah,
previous Pokemon that have new forms, yeah, I
they're
don't know if
all
there's one that
so good.
I dislike as well. Well, Mr.
See, I
Mime.
like
Mr. Mime is the one I
his.
do actually hate. It's so bizarre
Yeah,
though.
I could.
I don't know. It seems more
He's more pointy.
triangulated. I don't know. Like the overall design
Well,
is
he's an
so
ice
sharp.
type.
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. I can't.
The new Darmanitan is
Yeah, that's
great.
still not working for me.
Uh,
Yeah, that one's good too.
the
Oh,
Ponyta
Rapid Dash.
Rapidash. I even like Galarian
Yep.
Stunfisk.
That one was surprising to see because my first time ever seeing that was in the wild where you
Yep.
stepped on the little Pokeball things and it just ended up being that account. I was like, whoa, this is different. Okay, they
Yeah,
did
I
something interesting
think.
with this Pokemon.
Well, I mean, I know. what my favorite is. Trying to think if there's a least favorite. My favorite's Ice Cube. Ice Cube,
Both
both
forms or
forms. I know
just
people
one of
hate
the two
his
forms?
non his
Noise,
no ice face, but
no ice face.
he's just penguins are my favorite animals, and he's just they're perfect. Ice Cube is perfect. Both no ice face and ice face. Um, I was so disappointed that they were so late in the game.
I think my favorite of the new Galar Pokemon is
I
probably
I love
Cramorant, though.
Cramorant. I love me some Snom.
Oh, Snom. I get the hype behind Snom. I'm not on that same hype. I do like
Yeah,
Frostmoth a lot. I think it's a really beautiful design, but Snom is just like,
I pulled
you're
up the
just a little
list.
pudgy
I'm trying
thing.
to go
So
through to see if there's any of the specifically new ones that I.
I would say my least
Yeah,
favorite
I
of the
just
new
got to
ones
DD.
is
I'm like,
Indeedee.
probably Indeedee.
Like, I don't get the design behind it. Like, I don't know what it's supposed to be based off. And even if I did know, I don't know if that would even change my mind. It's just like a really weird, just
Yeah,
very odd Pokemon. Like, yeah, I don't even know how I would begin to describe this. For some reason, Tim Burton comes to mind, like a Tim Burton designed
Stone
Pokemon.
Joiner's great.
Yeah,
Poltergeist and
Poltegeist
Sinistea.
is a good one. Yeah,
Duraludon was great.
yeah. I think I feel like they
I love
really hit it
all
out of
of
the
the
park with this one.
Abomination fossils.
I was gonna say,
There,
except for me, I don't
it's
like the fossil Pokemon.
Tyrantrum, Aurorus, and then a third is a four-way tie. Actually, a three-way tie. Not a huge fan of Arctovish, but Dracozolt, Arctozolt, and Dracovish are all spectacular. Uh,
I can't get into them. They're just weird. I rather
no,
we had gotten just regular fossils that we just had to go to the museum,
uh,
just generate me a new
look,
Pokemon, and then
Arctozolt,
that's it.
man.
Call it a day.
He's so confused. He's like, why am I freezing here? Dracozolt's like, I'm so back heavy, I don't understand. Dracovish is like, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm not a fan of their shinies, or Dracovish in particular. I don't like the brown, but their design and the lore behind them of just, because I like that because there's that long period, not long period, but the period of like the 80s and the 90s where we had all these dinosaurs that didn't actually exist because we were just shoving bones together. So like there is a historical
Okay.
precedent of that, which again in the height of the paleontology craze, like around the Jurassic Park time Jurassic Park came out, there were just so many people who were
Yeah.
trying to get dinosaurs that they're just like, we found bones, and they're like, we've found a new Ultrasaur, and it's like that's actually three different dinosaurs you just like shoved together. This hip bone definitely doesn't go with these things, so I like that little nod to that era of history. And the professor too, she's like so excited to use this machine to get it that she doesn't like try to match it, make sure the fossils are correct. She's just like, yeah, throw them in.
For
Yeah,
Professor Careless, which I caught that right away. I don't know. I think it took me probably a second read of that. It was like, that's such a
yeah.
weird
I
name, and
I
I'm like,
remember it was
oh,
a
I get
pun,
what you're
but I
trying to
couldn't
do.
remember what the
Got it.
pun was. Yeah,
Um. Okay. So yeah. Overall, I think the designs of the Galar Pokemon probably definitely like I said,
mm.
they knocked it out of the park on the designs. So what about the other big thing behind this game was the wild area. Um, I thought the wild area was awesome. I think they've improved it in the DLC for sure, integrating regular routes with the wild area. This Pokemon roaming all over the place. I think the overall layout is great. I like the weather aspect to it. I think I'm trying to see. The dens. I feel like there's not enough dens scattered all over the place, because like you get like in areas where there's clusters of dens, and then you get like a whole lot of no dens, and then there's like there's one sore one like sticking out all the way to the other side. So I don't know if that was like an intentional thing the way they designed that, but I just feel like the dens could have been placed a little bit better. But otherwise, I really do like the wild area, and I like, I think out of all the out of the two expansions, I think the Isle of
Yes.
Armor did it the best. Again, just going route to route, and just it's a smooth transition of like, you know, you're going from route to route, but there's also dens, and there's also, oh, you know, wild Pokemon just roaming around, and you still have your wild encounters, and I think it's like
Yeah, I like the
the
wild
perfect
area
balance among
too.
them.
Crown Tundra does it pretty well too, but not as good. Where when you move into like a new biome, essentially, it feels like it just. And I know why they did it, and it doesn't like take me out of the game, but it is kind of like, oh, I'm riding through this part of the wild area, and it's like sandstorm, and then magically like it's raining in the next area of the wild area.
Yeah.
And in Isle of Armor, at least the biomes feel unique enough that like it makes sense that like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this area would have rain when this area didn't because I went through this tunnel or there's these all these trees or whatever. But I agree with you. Like, I don't think there needed to be more dens. I think, like you said, they just needed to be placed better. Um, and I like that you go in. My favorite thing about the wild area is when you go in early and you're like, cool. Oh, cool. Let me like run around and find something. And you have your like level, what are you at that point? Like 12 ish, like around 10 to 12 with your Pokemon. And then you go up and it's like, here's a
Mm-hmm.
level 19 Onyx. And you're like, oh, okay then. Or then you go a little bit, you're like, let me go over here. And it's like, here's a level 30, like something. And you're like, okay. So this is like true wilderness. I
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I ran into like a level 60
yeah, like
Gengar
I liked.
when I went into the wild area.
I
Yeah.
wish there was more of that in games, and not like there should still be if they're going to keep like the route structure. I'm not against like this route is around this level because obviously they want you to progress a certain way, but like if you go this route and it's like, but then
Mm-hmm.
you can go over to like this cave over here that's out of the way, and like you can, and they don't gate it behind an HM or special ability or whatever. They're just like, you can go here, and the gate is you're level 20, but everything in there's level 50. And so I wish there was a little more of that in games, and I think the wild area maybe they will lead to more things like that in future games. I just like the aspect of you running into a wild Pokemon that's way out of your level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, not strict to just the wild area, but speaking of, how's
I
your
never
curry making
mastered it,
skills?
but I got pretty good.
I don't even know what mastering it's like
Charizard. I don't
Charizard
think
is
I ever got a
the best one,
Charizard
right?
solo, which I think is technically possible.
I'm sure it is. I just remember Copper Raja, and
Milcery is
actually
one of
that's it.
them, I
Is
think.
Copper Raja like the beginner one? I I I'm not very good at those cooking things. Like I know
I
they're like the Poffin one we had before was like that was Gen 4,
yeah,
5, was it? The Poffins where you had to like stir in the Poffins. I was never very good at that. So when the curry thing came in, I liked the idea. I thought it was a cool concept, but I could never do it well enough. Like I didn't know I was burning the food. I didn't know if I was stirring fast enough or slow enough. I haven't looked too much into it, so I don't know if I'll ever go back and complete the curry decks because I don't know for me if that's a feasible thing. Um, yeah, but I think it's a cool little addition. I think it's something, I guess, extra. for people that really like it. And I know there are players out there that really dig into it, but yeah, I don't know. What would you think? Curry decks, was it for you? Was it you just kind of passed it? We're like,
I
not
never
for me.
finished it, but I didn't think like it's something I would still like to do. So
I I just wish extra things like those. I just wish there was something like worth achieving for. So like with Poffins, right? That helps you with your contest, right? You give your Pokemon Poffins, and it raises certain stats, like beauty or whatever, and that helps you in the Pokemon contest. Where in this one, there's really no incentive to get it, other than I guess spoilers at this point. Like you get like golden utensils or something like
yeah,
that if you complete your curry decks, which I mean, it's that's not that big of a deal. So I have no incentive of achieving a completed curry
yeah,
decks.
it's more of just the completionist in me that wants to do it more than wanting to like do the things, I guess.
So let's talk about the overall aesthetic of Galar. So the towns, the designs of them, the overall look of the map. Um, I was a little concerned that because the map was so narrow, like it's not as I guess something about the vertical design of it just made me think things were going to be more strict or more limited. But I think the overall design worked out well. I liked a lot of the towns. I think my favorite one is
Yeah,
Glimwood,
I love Glenwood
Glimwood
Tangle.
Tangle. Uh, just something about the overall tone and theme of it just fits really nice, and it feels more unique than the other
Mm-hmm.
ones, I would say. Um, I don't know if I could say that these towns are very memorable beyond Glimwood, though. Like, you have Motostoke, you have Wedgehurst, I
I'm
think,
so bad at
Turffield,
remembering
Hammerlock.
the names of towns.
The two that stick out to me it's Balinlea. That's the one that's with Glimwood Tingle is the forest, and then Balinlea
The
is the
like
town
little
attached to
gnome
it. So
village, like that's all neon-y. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Balinlea and Spikemouth, I think, are my two favorite ones because I think again those feel the most unique out of all the towns. Like everything else, I feel like I can just look back on another game and find like, yep, that's just like this town or that's just like that. Whereas opposed Spikemuth, because it is just like an alley you go down and you have like that one street level like basketball court looking area kind of where you have to battle peers. Like just something about that just stood out to me the most. And then like I said, Balamia, I just like the color
Yeah, I
aesthetic to
like
it. It just stands out.
Motostoke's like the big central one, right? Yeah, I liked
Yes.
the aesthetic of that one and the way the buildings looked and everything. Um, but like it again, like you said, like it didn't feel super unique. Like it didn't feel. It felt like it could have been in any region for the most part. There were a few like unique buildings to it, but overall,
Mhm.
I wasn't like, oh yeah, like this feels um, specifically like it belongs in Galar, unlike the Glimwood Tangle and the town for there.
I completely forgot to address this Pokemon because I was looking at the Rose
Mm-hmm.
Tower and all that. We never really talked about
Oh yeah,
Eternatus. Um, I don't mind the design. I think it definitely stands out very. I mean, it is a poison
mm-hmm.
dragon, which I kind of would think it would be a dark dragon, but I guess the poison
Yeah, the whole
aspect
like
fits. But
tainting the world
I
kind of thing.
yeah, I'm surprised we don't get access to the Gigantamax form of it. Although I guess for battle purposes' sake, I think I
Yeah,
understand why we don't. It's okay. I don't think it's that exciting. I don't know if it's because of the story behind it, like the way that it's used. I think it was a little
yeah, they kind of
lackluster.
I feel built it up for it to not have as much payoff as it could.
Yeah, because all you get is that Chairman Rose is building up this energy. It unleashes Eternatus. Eternatus brings the concept of the
Yeah.
darkest day, but I don't know. I don't feel that connection of why Eternatus is bringing the darkest day. Like, I don't feel like there's much development as far as the lore behind Eternatus goes. Where I feel like we get more behind like
Mm-hmm.
Rayquaza or Giratina. Like, they have more story to them. Where Eternatus is just, yeah, we just needed a big, giant legendary Pokemon that feels ominous and
Yeah, I
evil. So here
thought
you go. This is
maybe
what we got.
with the post game, which I love Sir Waldo and Shieldbert, or however you say the sword guy's name.
So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Particularly
Yeah,
with their hair. I know some people think ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, but also like that's why they're
it
great.
is. Yep.
And so I thought, yeah, we were gonna get more about Eternatus with that, but we never did, and I guess it kind of makes sense because it was focusing on them and their kind of relation with the legendary dogs. But yeah, as far as legendaries go, it definitely is not the best. Design wise, I like it. I think it feels very, alien-y, which I think is kind of fitting
Mm-hmm.
for something that would want to bring about the end of the day. And I kind of like the Master Hand vibe it's got going on when it's in Gigantamax.
Oh, like
Yeah,
a Super
like when
Smash
it's
Brothers kind of
Gigantamax, it
thing.
feels
Yeah.
a lot like Master Hand, and I liked how it looked because of that. But I don't know, like I feel like it was such a small, like even though it was about building up the power for the darkest day with it, I feel like it was such a small part of the story that its lack of development didn't really matter.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so then let's talk about the DLC that we got, because this is the first time that Game Freak has decided to do DLC instead of doing like an Ultra Sword or Ultra Shield type of game. Like, this was something, and they've been quoted in the past that they are never
Mm-hmm.
going to do DLC, and lo and behold, they turn their back on that word and go, here we go. Here's a $30 DLC, which I think was presented just fine, because I don't think a lot of people just like looked into it deeper, because the $30 price tag, and you say DLC and there's parts 1 and parts 2, and you say $30, people in their mind just go $30 for
Yeah.
each DLC. That's crazy. But then after the actual announcement was over, it's like, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
$30. You get both DLC parts, so it's really $15 per pack, which I think is a decent price point for them. um I think the DLCs were done great. I like that each one had a theme or a focus to it. I think they brought more, I guess, quality of life stuff especially for
Mm-hmm.
the competitive scene. Because I know Isle of Armor, that's what's its main focus. You could build up the dojo to make sure that you get resources for building competitive teams, and then the Crown Tundra was more the exploration part, where if you wanted to see Pokemon, then you get to see Pokemon, you get to capture more in the wild, you get legendary Pokemon. So I like that they had their own respective central focus to them. I think this is the way they should go. Like, nothing against having a third game, but I am like in the same boat with some of those players where I worked so hard on this one, I did all of this stuff, and now I have to restart everything from scratch and kind of build that back up again. I'd rather just have all my stuff and just give me some new additions to what I've already built. So I like that they did
Agreed.
DLC.
I feel the same way. Um, I think that I think definitely going forward, it should be DLC to expand the game and expand the story, and instead of getting this, like, I guess you would call it like director's cut of a game.
Yeah,
Um, and so it just Yeah, I loved them. Like I think or Isle of Armor was overall done better, but I enjoyed
Yeah,
Crown
agreed.
Tundra more because I like competitive, but I'm not really a competitive player. And so
Hmm.
the just doing like the stuff that was in the Crown Tundra was more fun for me overall and more enjoyable.
I liked Urshifu a lot, which was the legendary that you get
I
in
do.
the
I
Isle
really
of
like
Armor,
Urshifu, and I like the two styles and everything with that comes along with that. Water.
which style did you pick? Yeah, that's what I figured too. Yeah, I went for the water one first. I'm not a fan of
Oh yeah.
Calyrex, and the horses, the Gastrier and
Mm-hmm.
what's the other one, Spectrier. I'm they're I don't know. They don't do anything for me. Like there's a lot of hype around them. I think competitive wise, I think that's the main talk behind those Pokemon. But other than that, like the whole big brain Jackrabbit design just is super weird to me. And then the horse designs, I feel like they could have been done better. They just feel very, I don't know, too simplistic. I think, in my opinion, that's just how I feel about
I
those.
could see
But
that.
the Galar
Oh,
birds,
the
I
Galarian
really
forms for the
loved.
birds were.
I
I wish they did Galarian forms for like every legendary with how well they were designed.
Yeah, they definitely won me over for those three. I think I'm gonna say Articuno is just my favorite one out
Ooh,
of the three, though. Like I get the reason, like the bandwagon
Chocobo.
of Zapdos, the Chocobo. Yeah, that I get it. I didn't grow up playing Final Fantasy or anything that
Yeah,
has Chocobo in it, so I was like, I don't like. Sure, that's your thing. Um, Moltres, I think, is just too dark in a way where like, it's like the black color just overemphasizes it too much, and there's not enough of the fiery aspect of it. That's why I think Articuno is the coolest one of the three
me
for
it's
me, at
Moltres.
least.
Um I am at heart in a lot of ways an edge lord. I never like dressed like an edge lord or really got into it, but I've always
Hmm.
like my favorite color is black, and most of my t-shirts are black, and I really like a good black color pairing. So um, the aesthetic of Moltres really speaks to me, but I like them all. Like if someone was like, "Oh, you have to pick a favorite," I'm picking Moltres just because I have to. But again, I think they're all like spectacular designs.
If you haven't seen it yet, you should look up the TCG card for
I haven't.
Galarian Moltres,
I will
because
have to
that is
look into
actually a
that
really cool
for sure.
design. Um, but okay, so what were your thoughts
I
on
don't
Calyrex?
I think he's funny. Like I like the story with Calyrex a lot. I don't the design. I guess I'm neutral towards.
Hmm.
I don't hate it. I could definitely
Okay.
see why people don't like it. It just to me is a pretty like neutral thing. Like I'm like, oh, I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it's like the best thing ever either. So um,
And the
I
horses, what did you
I
think of the
picked
horses, and which one did you pick?
last year first. In my next one, I'm going to pick
Yep,
Spectre.
same here.
Uh, just because I feel like ice in general doesn't get a lot of love as a typing,
True. Yeah.
and so I was wanting to do that, and then I just again, even though I'm the edge lord, I just think the Spectrier looked better, or not Spectre. Glacier looked better than Spectrier, just overall. Like I don't know.
Hmm.
And I'm in the tundra. Of course, I want the ice horse.
True. So, out of curiosity, I'm wondering, since we got DLC here, and we both agree that it's done well and that this is the way they should go moving forward. And I don't know what's going to happen with Pokemon games after Arceus, because I don't know what the main series is going to look like anymore. I feel like Sword and Shield was a first step into what Arceus is going to be. What would happen, or how do you think you would feel if they went back to doing a whole new version? Like, they don't do DLC, but they do that third version or whatever new director's
I
cut
think
will
if they
be.
do it like they did, if they lean more towards like how short Sword and Shield, not Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon went, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and it felt like a different enough story. Because I think that's the thing, is it doesn't, every other game it's like, oh, okay, these are tweaks that should have been there from the beginning, I guess. You feel like with
Right.
like Crystal and Emerald and all of those, I feel like, again, those are like, oh, this is how it should have been the whole time. But I don't think I can see Sun and Moon being like, okay, like the studio, or it feels like it's like we wanted to tell the story, and then they're like, okay, maybe we didn't tell it the best way we could. How do we improve it? Or how do we tell the story we want to tell? And I feel like that's, again, what they accomplished with Sword and with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And I think that's what I want to see if you're going to give me a third game. Like, don't give me just the new game with like slightly faster, in the case of like Platinum, like slightly faster swimming and more Pokemon. Like, give me like alternate universe or director's cut or script 2.0 of the story.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. I'm very doubtful that they'll go back to it, but again, they went back on their word on DLC, so who knows what's going to happen here. And if this was their first trial run at it, I think they, like, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I think they knocked it out of the park again with DLC. I think each one was worth its $15 price point. And it was just nice that they comboed it together for that $30 mark.
Yeah,
so,
if they definitely had done 30, or for whatever reason, I guess it's just more of like my monkey brain. If they had been like, you have to buy them each individual 15, I would have been more like, well, that's annoying. But for whatever reason, because they were like, yeah, you buy $30 to get both over time. I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe just because I've been like bitten or, tainted by like season passes of other games. And so
that makes sense.
That is just has gotten me to be like about things like that, where it's like, oh, well, here's the DLC, and then here's the DLC again, and I don't know. So I like the way it was done. I like that it was spread out. I think that's the thing more for me, is I paid $30, and I feel like they were like, okay, you get your $30, but also like you get it worth, but like it's not. They're almost forcing you to take time to do it, like enjoy it, do the Isle of Armor stuff before you go to Crown Tundra.
I will say that for future purposes, that I would have liked to have like a new Pokemon per DLC. Doesn't even have to be like a whole new slate of Pokemon, like even just one new Pokemon to be like, this is, well, that kind of, I just kind of counter myself, because technically they gave you Urshifu with Isle of Armor, and then in Crown Tundra they gave you Calyrex, and I guess the horses, but I guess I just want something, what's like a non-legendary, just something more basic, like I don't know, a Galarian Krabby or something, like a new form of a previous Pokemon.
Good. I think like, you don't have to give me brand new Pokemon. It's just, we got Galarian Slowpoke and Slowking for Isle of Armor. Like, how is that the only one you have? Like, why
Right.
didn't you have more?
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully something. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Game
Yeah.
Freak has got multiple plans, and they're always trial and run errors. So it does sound like we're in agreement here
Yes.
that Sword and Shield are great games, and probably some of the best Pokemon games out there. And so it being the third best-selling game obviously proves that it holds its own value. It's a game that people will look back and remember, regardless of what people remember it by, whether it's the tree that with the low res graphics, or the national dex, or the fact that people actually loved the
Yeah.
wild area and loved the Galar Pokemon. This Sword and Shield has definitely made its mark, and I think it was a good start to the main series game of Nintendo Switch games. I mean, I know we had Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and they're not necessarily spin-offs because they've been titled that they are main series games, but I think as far as introducing a new region and new Pokemon, they
Agreed.
outdid themselves
For
with Sword and Shield.
the first new generation to be on the Switch, I think is probably the best way to say it. I don't. It would. I would like. Sure, everyone will have their critiques on how they could have done it better, but given what Pokemon games are and how they've been, I don't. Don't think I could have asked for a better first Switch generation.
Before we end this, though, we never talked about it, but how do we feel
I
about
think all
Gigantamax
the Gen
Blastoise?
1 Gigantamaxes are great. Yeah.
I mean, Venusaur with its Beatles haircut. I just thought the Blastoise one was super cool. Like I was hoping, like the fact that Charizard was on the list of the original Pokedex, and like I wasn't sure if we were going to get Blastoise and Venusaur. And then when they introduced it, I was like, thank God that they're bringing them back. And then I was kind of worried about their Gigantamax forms. And
Yeah.
then after I saw them, I was like, yeah, they definitely did it right. I mean, how else would you do Blastoise other than just add more cannons onto him? That's what they did for the Megas, and I can't think of anything else they would
Yeah,
do
no,
for any
it
other forms that they would try to do with
definitely
Blastoise.
they did Blastoise right, and it made sense that they didn't introduce them all for, because Charizard being so integral to Leon. I don't, they wouldn't want like you to be able to get a Gigantamax of something else. So for Leon to kind of have the spotlight of like his whole stance is Charizard. So for like the non DLC, yeah,
Right.
and it was a good way to introduce the Max Soup and being able to make your Pokemon Gigantamax. Be like, hey, you want to do it?
True.
Here are your starters and the other two Kanto starters. Like, I think that's kind of the best way to introduce them is to, here they are, and this is how you're going to get Gigantamax versions of Pokemon that maybe you didn't catch as Gigantamax initially. Good job,
I
Game
agree.
Freak. I know you're listening.
All right. Well, that's it for. All right, that's it for this episode. As I already mentioned,
Yeah.
next month Austin will be back, and we'll talk
We're doing
about
the
Ultra
Ultras.
Sun and
I
Ultra
like,
Moon. I'm assuming we're gonna do the. I'm assuming we do the Ultras, right?
yeah,
That's like the
I think
definitive
the Ultras
version,
are
maybe.
better.
I'm gonna play through Ultra
Okay.
Sun. I'm gonna try to play through as much of it as I can.
I
Because
also did Moon,
I
so we
started
can do
off with
Sun
Ultra
together
Moon.
and see how that goes.
Okay, sounds good then. So that'll be next month. Probably towards the end of the month is probably when I'll keep these episodes just to keep in line with the Pokemon 25th anniversary celebration rollout. And then yeah, we'll just continue on doing the Pokemon journeys, which is kind of exciting because I do like going back to some of the earlier generations and going like, man, we
Yeah,
played with this.
I'm
Oh,
not. I can't
HMs
say I'm
were a thing.
excited
Holy
to
crap!
look back onto HMs.
But it'd be nice to see how far
Yeah.
we've come along from Pokemon games. So I feel like this will definitely put those games to the test of time. It's like, if Gen 1 is definitely your favorite Pokemon game, does the original classic Red and Blue still hold up, its value to this day? And same thing with like maybe Ruby and
I do
Sapphire or
have some
Black and
things to
White.
say
Like,
about Gen 1 because
I
I
don't know, it'd
have
be
recently
interesting.
replayed, but I'll save that for October.
All right. Well, that'll be it for this, Austin. If people want to follow you, where can they follow you?
Twitch.tv/Squirtle Squad 47, SQAD. know you in Squad, and same on Twitter. Yeah, but I
You're on
don't
Instagram
post
too,
enough
aren't
on
you?
Instagram to say follow me on there. I also don't know what my handle is on Instagram to say follow me
Okay,
on
fair
there.
enough.
So is it? Oh, there it is.
It's the
I
same thing.
can't
It's
even
Squirtle
remember the
Squad
last time I
47.
posted
Yeah,
anything on Instagram. You are.
I guess I am now your
The
social media
check's in the
manager.
mail.
If you, if any of you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube at Spartan Strike 07. Twitch will become a thing soon enough, which it's still Spartan Strike 07. So if you want to just get a jump start on that, you can go ahead and follow me there. Although I'm going to say most of my gameplay is probably going to be Halo, because I am going to start having to expedite my grind to rank 152 before Infinite comes out. So that'll be my journey on Twitch for quite a while. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. So Austin, thank you for coming on this episode and talking Sword and Shield with me. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's the end of this episode. So thank you, listeners. If you want to just reach out to us and comment us, disagree or agree, go ahead and do so. Just respectfully, please. Despite what we think about the national decks and all that stuff. And yeah, I guess we'll just end it there.
Stay
Any more for
safe,
this episode?
stay smart. Gotta catch them all.